Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the first episode of Unloaded. If you're out there listening right now while maybe sitting in your car, lying in your bed awake, maybe you can't turn the voice off in your head, or maybe you can feel the weight you're carrying. We just want you to know that you're in the right place right now. We want to welcome you to Unloaded.
First episode, here we go.
Here we go. So I'd like to tell everybody, my name is Michael Sehorn. I'm an Army veteran, father, husband. I'm also a business owner. But more than all of that, I'm someone who's carried a whole lot. And through that, I've learned what happens when you keep carrying it alone.
My name is Shannon Morrow. I'm a marriage and family therapist, also husband, father, also veteran, and moreover, also know what it feels like to be carrying a whole lot of weight. And that's kind of what brought us here today to begin this.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We've had this idea for this podcast for a better part of probably 9 months, give or take.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of conversations about this, and for you guys that are first tuning in to our podcast, Shannon is and probably will remain my personal counselor for a very long time. We've had a relationship and a partnership for the better part of 10 years now. So, this dude sitting right here probably knows me just as well as I know myself, I think.
Some things a little more, some things a little less, of course. Yeah, as Michael describes, we've been working together for about a decade now, and it's been an honor to serve as Michael's counselor and just work through a lot of different things. I've learned a lot from him. It's just how it goes within the therapy office, and it's again been quite a privilege to see that a lot of the transformation and change, and not only in him and me, just in our world, our communities, and it all kind of is accumulating now, leading up to this. Hey, maybe we can share this a little bit. There's something special happening here, and let's see if we can capture it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there right now probably wondering, or matter of fact, maybe all of you are kind of wondering, like, what's Unloaded about? What is this podcast? Why should I be here? Why should I listen to these two guys, right? And it's a very good question. And the reason Unloaded was created is I felt from the counseled, if you will, side of the table that a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the closed door. When you walk into that counselor's office or whatever the person's title is, because I don't think the title is important. It could be a pastor, a priest, a counselor, a
confidant. Yep, it's just
could be anybody.
That safe space.
Correct. Safe space, but it's also an unknown space, which terrifies a lot of people.
It can be scary, man, walking in, not knowing what you're getting into. So,
right.
Yep.
I remember my first time, when I finally made a decision, and it wasn't my decision solely. I think I had a very large push from my wife at the time to seek some help. I was going through some things, and we'll get into that later on. So I don't want to get into that today. But excuse me, I remember, sitting out in the waiting room, and you're sitting out there. It's a new place. It's strange. You don't know what to expect. You're like, why the fuck am I even here? Like, what's this guy? Or at the time it was Shannon. So I didn't know if Shannon was a guy or a girl. It's just Shannon, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know who to expect.
Nah, you were probably expecting female, actually.
I think it probably was, to be honest with you. And I was thinking, like, what the heck is this person going to even do? And better part is, like, what am I supposed to say?
That's
right?
the large concern often. So much of our lives feel so performative, and so you step into something. First of all, it's mostly unknown. You don't really know what you're getting into. And then second, you don't really know what you're supposed to do. And generally liking to know what we're supposed to do in most situations and most encounters, we'd like to, have just that security. But when it's a brave thing to walk in truly to that not knowing, and it can be kind of scary sometimes, and there's a lot of pretty natural avoidance, you know.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah. And like I said, we'll get into the details of that a little bit later, but Unloaded was created by Shannon and I. I had I guess an epiphany one day, you know, and I think I was driving at the time, and I thought, man, what would it be like if I created a podcast and gave people a glimpse into what I call behind the door, right? And I came to Shannon. I think we were in session one day, and I told Shannon, I said, I got this great idea, and I said, what if we create a podcast and let people see what we do? And he was like, yeah, I don't know.
I had to check for a second, like, yeah, you know, when that idea is originally mentioned, you don't recognize, you know, how it's gonna go. So my own little bit of nervousness around. I've never done anything like this.
Yeah, so. It was good. I think it was a little bit of shock and awe in a way, right? Like, man, what are we gonna do with a counselor and a counseled, right?
That's it. It kind of surprised me a little bit. I wasn't expecting. You'd had a little time to think about it, and I, you know, just in the moment, just like was approached, and you know, but I warmed up to it quickly.
Yeah, he did for sure. So with that thought came the title Unloaded, and if you guys look at the artwork out there associated with Unloaded, it's very crystal clear. It says the weight we carry, and the truth we speak, and this podcast is really focused on the weight that we carry, right?
It gets heavy.
And that weight could be anything. It could be issues at work. It could be issues with any relationship, whether it's mother, father, brother, sister, friend, coworker, boss, employee. So the dynamic of the relationship doesn't matter, but it's the weight that we carry revolving around whatever we feel that we can't talk to somebody about.
That's
right?
it.
So that's the weight we carry portion of our podcast title.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael. There's a lot there, you know, with a lot of pressure. Again, like I said earlier, pressure to perform, get it just right. A lot of people looking to you, a lot of responsibility, you know, and just that expectation. Keep trudging along day after day, week after week, year after year. Get it right. You don't keep going. Don't F it up, you know, and it doesn't leave a lot of room to, sometimes we get a little tired. Sometimes we get, you know, not sure how much we want to keep doing all this. And so just to have that space to let down a little of that weight, to put down that heavy backpack and just relax a little and be seen, be heard, you know, it makes a big difference.
And Shannon says something really intriguing there is he referenced a backpack, and if you look on the art, you'll see that we have a big backpack sitting on the ground, and it's a symbol for the stuff that we carry inside and the things that we don't want to quote unquote unload on other people, right? So that's the symbolic nature of the backpack, you know. And then the second part of that is the truth we speak, and I think, and I'm just going to say this straight out: if once you guys start listening to Shannon and I, you're going to find out real quick. I'm pretty truthful. I just say it as I see it. Obviously, I say things with compassion and thought, so I don't give people things that maybe they're not ready to hear. But I definitely don't generally hold back on how I feel or what I think. So the truth is really important because I feel like the weight, in my opinion, 80% of that weight is the stuff that we don't want to say out loud.
Yeah. We can't see what's in a backpack. You know, you might see a water bottle slung on the outside or something, but mostly
something bulging out.
Right, you know, tent or something tied onto it. But we mostly keep the stuff in, you know. Everyone's got their stuff, and most people don't want to be burdened with other stuff. Even as I say that, you know, that's not entirely true. But it's our perception that I just got to keep gutting this out. I just got to keep carrying all this, and it's heavy and it hurts, and I'm tired and wore out, but I just got to don't let anybody know, you know, and how this is a struggle at times. And that's part of our message. It's okay, man, to allow others to know a little bit, you know, you'll be quite surprised at how readily others are like, oof, you know, willing to actually help out a little, show up a little bit, man. It's quite relieving. It's quite refreshing.
Yeah, and this podcast is really, as Shannon said earlier, this is a safe place, and at some point down the road, I think Shannon and I have already agreed that we want to try to do maybe a live broadcast once a month at some point where we can have listeners join us, and you guys could give feedback or questions as we are recording that live session. That'll be down the road for sure. The other part is the silence part, right? And I think, for all you older guys out there, older gals out there, you remember. I don't know if they say it anymore. Do they still say that silence is golden in the movie theater? Is that a thing still?
Haven't seen that for a while, but it's certainly a thing.
It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. When we went to the movies back in the day, and they're like, silence is golden. You just be quiet and watch the movie, right?
Shut up, man.
Right?
Yeah.
But in life, we take that silence a little too far sometimes, right? Because we don't feel what's going on the inside. We don't feel that we can unload that on somebody, and it could be your partner. And I want people to know too, it's not a bad thing if you feel that you can't say what you feel sometimes because maybe you're not in that spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there it is. The silence is often just being silent about those things which we're afraid to talk about, afraid to reveal, concerned, like just to come forth with. And sometimes that can get very loud in other ways. It's not just silence. It's distraction, avoidance, talking about stuff that that just fills space, that isn't as needed, that isn't we avoid talking about the stuff that would probably help us out a lot more to talk about by filling this space with a lot of crap.
Sure. Yeah, there's, as the audience gets to know us, you guys get to know me personally, if you were to ask my wife, she'll tell you straight out, like, my husband's the quietest dude around, right? He doesn't want it. He holds a lot of it in, but that's how I process, right? I process internally first to try to see if I can go inside, figure out what it is I'm feeling or thinking, and then once I get to a certain spot, then I'm more comfortable coming in, talking to my wife or talking to you, or I have a very small, micro intimate circle, which better than anybody. So I just want to throw that out there because I think sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to tell my husband, I don't want to tell my wife or my brother or my sister, and I just want to say out loud, like, that's okay to feel that way.
Yeah, no, it actually serves often. You don't really want to be talking about those marital challenges with your spouse. No, or any family stuff,
right? It's
with other. Well, beyond being uncomfortable, it's too close. It's not the appropriate. First, like, we often have to figure out our own stuff. We all do it in our own kind of different ways, but there's some general similarities. As Michael just described, he's more of an internal processor. He'll just sit quiet, alone, go inside, start really pondering things, figuring things out. It's a large scale, but you move kind of more toward the other side of the scale, and there's many who actually have to hear themselves talk out loud, quote unquote, thinking out loud, just like ba 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 ba, and then when they're actually figuring it out by making it real through the words coming out of their mouth. I'm actually a little bit more that way, and it's cool to hear Michael describe that, because I'm going to keep learning some things about Michael. This is a very different context in which we normally meet. Generally, it's just therapy sessions. And when he just described, no, I just really am quiet. I'm like, really? You act? Because all I know is a Michael in session when it's finally
unloading.
It's finally, and exactly, he has that safe space that just like, okay, on the other side of the door, in this established, trusted relationship, and where he is then finally free to really work some things out, which really serves. But that's mostly the Michael I know. And it's, pretty cool to like, oh yeah, he doesn't do this out there.
I don't. And I'll tell you why I don't. A lot of times I'm not sure, and I'm going to choose these words carefully when I say this statement is, a lot of times the things that I feel that I'm thinking or dealing with, sometimes I don't feel that the people I have on the other side are in a space where I feel that they can handle that discussion, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. That is why the therapeutic alliance, as it's called, is so valuable, because it is an intentional space, an intentional time and space in which you can go in with a very neutral, paid professional who has a lot of experience and training in this and can provide that pretty clean, clear sounding board. They're not going to get, because if you're trying to talk with a friend about this, who knows what, these people you're talking about, if you're trying to talk with a family member or a loved one, it's too close. And so to just be able to back out of that and have that very clean, clear space in which you can use as a sounding board and to get to know yourself better and gain greater awareness about your situations, that is the value.
Yeah, it's good. And I just want to say this as well. It's like, you said something pretty ironic that some people might not have caught is you're too close, right? And you got to have that dude or that chick or that person in your life where they will listen, intentfully listen. Active listening is what we were taught, right, when we were kids, actively listening to the person. But you got to have that one person, that one dude, that one chick that will look right at you until you're out of your mind, right? Because that's the real deal there, right?
That's part of the job.
Right? And I don't need the person on the other side always agreeing with me and saying, oh, man, yeah, I get you. I feel you, bro. Like, yeah, I completely understand it. I feel the same way. No, I need somebody like Shannon where, when I say that we've had a relationship over 10 years, I want the audience to understand, other than my time away in Hawaii, which we'll talk about that down the road, Shannon and I have actively been in session for 2 times a month. Well, early on it was every month or every week for quite a while. But anyway, weekly. We have literally been in session for the better part of 10 years together. Very small breaks, other than holidays or vacations. Right?
Every other week.
That context gives me the ability to go into a session with Shannon because of the trust we built with one another. He can look at me and he can give me an honest opinion or his professional opinion on where I'm dealing with something or I can't figure something out. But on my end, and I think this is super important, and we'll talk about this down the road as well, on my end, I have to be okay with you not agreeing.
And be okay with me knowing you that well.
Yes.
After years of getting to know you and kind of, your upbringing, kind of, your personality, the things that excite you, the things you avoid, just having a pretty clear understanding of an individual. And then when that individual is processing things, there is a lot of empathy, there is a lot of support, while also it would be negligent to, in those moments when any of my clients are describing, an idea they have or an emotion, something they're feeling strongly about, and I'm kind of seeing something, I'm kind of like, oof, like if it's not accurate by my view, and of course, all professionals, all therapists, doctors, counselors, anybody, can make mistakes, and yet, to be readily able to, allow for our humanness. And I think that's one of the strengths of therapy is we are just knowing, okay, yeah, here's 2 human beings sitting down, shared experience. But in this professional setting, I'm seeing this thing right now. You're telling me this, I'm hearing you. I understand where you're going, and oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna actually push back a little bit on this. Can we look at this a little bit more, just since you have this outside perspective? Who knows you really well?
But on the counseled side, on my side of the table, that's what I was saying is that you have to be okay with pushing back, because I wouldn't want a counselor looking back over the last decade with us this would never have lasted, in my
No.
opinion, as long as it's lasted if you just freaking agree with me all the time, right?
What is that?
Right? You're like,
Nah.
hey man, I like collecting this check every week, by the way, and
Yeah,
keep hitting my ATM card, right? But
no, that's
the
not
depth,
meaningful.
it created
that-
depth and trust that when Shannon or me push back on, because I just want everybody to know too, Shannon and I have a very unique dynamic, and like I said, we'll get into that later on down the road. And I will just say this: when we talk about when Shannon first met me for my very first counseling
We
session,
should tell that story.
okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna that's going to be an episode on its own, and I will say out loud to our listeners is don't miss that episode, because you might be shockingly surprised on how that went. So I'm just going to throw that out there now, and we'll maybe episode 3, 4,
Shockingly
5.
surprised. Yeah, there
we'll
might
get
be a little
into it, right?
profanity. I don't know if that's okay. I'm trying not to cuss in here. It's
Right. So you will want to tune into that, because that's a heck of a story for both of us, and the perspective on both sides is pretty weird when you get to hear it from Shannon's side. So we'll get into that down the road. So what unloaded is not. I think this is just as important to talk about what we're not here to do. And the very first thing I will tell everybody is this is in no way, shape, or form therapy. This is not therapy for our listeners. This is not therapy for myself. I reserve that for a one-on-one with Shannon, and no, we're not going to record that live, so you're out of luck on that. But this podcast is not therapy. Shannon's not here to diagnose. He's not here to give his opinion on things that you may be struggling with. And I think it's important for our listeners to know that this is really more of our listeners being able to get a perspective from a professional mental health individual insight, and through that we hope that more people will be willing to give this setting an opportunity down the road.
That's it.
Right.
If it can just a little bit demystify what goes on the other side of that door, make it not quite so scary, maybe just like, consider it a little bit like, there's actually, I can see the value in that, and there might be someone I could work with, and maybe I'll explore it a little bit more, then great, and we're not, pushing anyone to do anything, I mean, you do you, ride your ride, this is just, as much as what Michael just described, in our roles, maybe even moreover, just two guys having a conversation, two guys that really care, two guys who have been through a lot, and two guys who found a great connection with one another and have experienced a lot of growth together and kind of got led to share it.
And that's a good point too, is so this is not therapy, and this isn't a place where Shannon and I are judging our listeners in any way, shape, or form, right? So when we do get to the live chats, or you guys email us, or however we set up the communication, is we're not here to give judgment. I hate it. I hate people that are judgmental. It's a sore spot for me personally.
Man, if I may catch you on that one, though, man, hating judgmentalness, that's its own form.
It is its own form of. No, it is. I can just tell you from a personal standpoint is when I am in a situation, or I'm in a room or a meeting or wherever that is, and you're seeing and hearing the judgment being put on other people, whether that's through conversation, body language, or whatever the context is, it rubs me a little bit, because I feel that when we are judging people, you're taking that person's ability to have their own thoughts and their own feelings. That's how I look at that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
This is a very safe place for our listeners, and I just want them to know that.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. That's a really important point is, I mean, that what's the other side? Of course, acceptance, just like really that openness, that vulnerability, that just like, okay, just being okay with Whoa, that was a big truck just starting.
Yeah, real nice Mustang out there.
You saw it. That's
no, I could hear it. Sounds like
5.0.
they all sound the same.
That's throaty.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is just kind of had a thought in my head and it kind of just slipped away. Oh, judgment. That's how a lot of people feel on my side of the table when you walk in the door, that we're going to be judged by that person.
Ooh.
Right? So I just want to throw it out there for now.
Yep.
That'll be a lengthy discussion. I'm going to write a note.
Yeah,
I'm going to write a note that we could talk about.
Nah, man. Most people are very pleasantly surprised. It's pretty tough to offend a therapist or a counselor, man.
But we still feel that we're being judged.
It's one's own.
Right?
Well, there's a lot of societal conditioning. There's a lot of judgment out there. And so it's kind of weird if you've never stepped into therapy or counseling to even imagine that, wait, there's a space in which that doesn't really exist. I can really open up and be as true and real and honest and be seen and all that stuff I don't like about myself, all the stuff I've been kind of hiding, all the stuff in my backpack that I've just been carrying that I don't want others to see, that feels too heavy. Like, I can't let that out. People judge me and oh, wait, this is safe. It's, you're okay with me talking about this stuff, telling you this stuff? Oh, wow, you're actually receiving a lot of this with acceptance and openness, and it creates that ability to relax and let down that weight and be seen and heard in truth. Yeah,
and that goes back to the initial why Unloaded was created.
Yep.
It's created to demystify, as Shannon was saying, the stigma, if you will, on what happens when you go in that room. So that's the driving force for me on this side of creating Unloaded. What Shannon was, I felt like 90, maybe, I don't know, I'm just going to use a number, maybe 90% of people don't seek some type of mental health because there's a lot of fears and attachments on the side of the people that are, quote unquote, looking for that help, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it might be reduced and coming down like 89%, 88%, 85%. It is.
It's coming down.
That stigma is
push,
fading. Right? You know, it used to be really bad even just a couple decades ago, and now it's becoming more accepted. People are recognizing how valuable it is. It's not as scary. The field has changed considerably as well, and so.
And no, Shannon didn't ask me about my mom or dad giving me hugs. Sorry, I want to throw that in there because that's a big one.
Yeah, right. I actually don't ask many questions. Occasionally, I save them, you know.
Yeah.
But
and we can get into that too in an episode of just how Shannon's approach to his way of providing therapy in the counseling arena. I think that would be a very good episode we could talk about is your approach and maybe why you've come to use that in your own professional.
That would be a fun episode. Great. Thank
clinic,
you for that. Because there are so many different therapists, counselors.
They all have their own thing, right?
Oh, man. They're as different as they are human beings, right?
Lay down on the couch, turn the light on.
Psychoanalysis, yep.
No, I didn't lie on the couch and Shannon didn't grill me.
I mean, if you want to.
Yeah, be weird, but, not right now. So the other thing, too, is, and this is super important for listeners to understand, is in no way, shape, or form is this the only way.
Thank you.
This isn't just Shannon and Mike's way. We're just here to open the door. It's very vulnerable for me as the counsel, right? Because we're going to get into a lot of things down the road, and for Shannon as well as a professional clinical provider as well. And we're going to do our best to give you what we can give you. Obviously, we can't give you everything, but we're definitely going to help demystify a lot of this stigma, if you will, in the mental health world. So I think it'll be important. I think with that being said, this is going to cause or create a little bit more need for some more space in this conversation. So I think it's a good start for our first episode. I think next week, Shannon and I will pick up right where we left off, and we'll get into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts, if you will, on the Unloaded podcast and what we're going to continue to put out there
Yeah.
And we'll get into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty
Yeah.
in the weeds.
It's going to
things
get more real.
Next episode.
Yeah.
And the big thing I want to tell everybody as well is, thank you for listening. If you have given us an opportunity for our first episode, I'm super thrilled and excited for this journey.
Yeah.
I know Shannon is as well. We'll hope that if you've listened to us today and you've hung in there for, looks like 30 minutes now, that you will share this with anyone and everyone if you think that you can get some value from coming on this journey.
Don't share it with everyone. But there is value. And for those who you recognize, like, oh, wow, check these guys out. Hey, I know someone that might benefit from this. Be selective. But this is why we're putting it out.
Yeah. So share it as you will. I'm on the opposite side. Share it with everybody. I would love to see lots of people benefit from our conversations and the things we'll talk about. But we'll go ahead and cut it for this week, and we'll pick this up next week. And hopefully everybody will have a good week. Stay safe out there. And from Michael here at Unloaded.
And Shannon.
We will see you all next week.
Later.